Greetings adventurers, my name is Kramer, and today I am very excited to finally share with you the fruits of my labor and show you the process so that you can make your very own medieval style room however you like. Now in order to do this video, I have to unveil my set. If you will indulge me, I will share a short story. Back when I was living in Washington, D.C., I was still in college, and I was just sort of beginning to discover the Middle-earth reenactment group. I hated living in the city. I really wanted to get out. I've talked about that a bit on the channel, and that's what sort of made me take this journey into, I really like medieval stuff, I like fantasy, I love the Lord of the Rings. How can I live like that all of the time? Which is why I have the channel. It's what I encourage you to do. How can I live essentially like I'm in Lord of the Rings all of the time? Because that is the thing that brings me joy. The first thing that I did was take an old table leaflet that a friend of mine was getting rid of, sand it down, and try to build a desk out of it. I failed miserably, but my first attempt into how can I sit at a nice wooden desk, write a letter to someone with a quill and ink, in candlelight. That was the first step that I had. Nothing else in the area was medieval. I was living in the basement in this house in DC, and I just built this desk out of this table leaflet, and I sat there on a regular like metal and plastic folding chair, and I wrote by candlelight at that desk, and it made me so happy. So I just wanted to share that writing desk, being able to sit here with a leather book, writing with an ink and quill was my first step into, it was my first foray into the realm of living anachronistically, the purpose of the channel. And here we are, full circle. I now have exactly what I want, and I'm able to share it with you. And I want to see more people do it too. I want to see more people have this experience too. Can you tell how excited I am? Can you tell how amped I am? I haven't even had Magic Mind for like the last 3 weeks. You've heard me talk about Magic Mind on the channel before if you're confused by the reference, but it's a mental performance shot with all natural ingredients. They have a sleep elixir as well, and it was super helpful for the month that I was trying it out, and I actually just didn't order more, so I haven't had any for about the last week. The difference has been very noticeable in my energy levels in the morning and my ability to go to sleep at night. And this goes to show you two things, which is that one, having a space like this, building a space like this, very easy if you just put your mind to it, your magic mind to it. Having a space like this will literally change the way that you go about your day. It'll change your energy levels, it'll change your productivity, it'll make you feel calmer and happier if this is something that you like, which you're watching the channel, so you do. And two, it goes to show me the difference between when I am having Magic Mind and when I don't have it. Because as I said, I haven't had it for the last couple of weeks, and the difference has been noticeable in my energy and productivity levels, not having it versus having it. So my new shipment is on the way. I can't wait. I really need it. So this has been a long time in the making, and I'm so happy that it's finally done. Look, I can touch my set. I can interact with it. It's beautiful. I'm gonna show you how I did this. I'm gonna take you through the process. I'm gonna give you a little tour, and I'm gonna show you how you can do this very same thing to your house. So obviously, when you are starting a project like this, the first thing to do is actually plan it out, because the less mistakes you make when you are actually building the thing, the less money you're going to have to spend rectifying those mistakes. So the first thing I did was actually just take stock of the room that I was working in. Now, you may not be filming. In my case, I was filming. I knew that I needed to have a set that I could film. I tested various different camera angles to see what was going to work. That's a step that you may not need to do. Now, keep in mind that as you are planning this out and you're figuring out how you're going to build everything, are you renting? I'm renting, or do you own your house? Because you're able to do a lot more permanent changes if you actually own your house than if you are renting. Whereas for me, I have to be able to take all this down and leave very little trace eventually. So my next step, after taking stock of what I actually had to work with, how long is the wall, how tall is it, how much of it is in the frame of the camera in various different angles, my next step was to go over to Pinterest, and I created a little board. And I actually didn't have that many pictures I saved because I narrowed what I wanted to do down very, very quickly. And if we go back through some of like the much older footage, even to some of the recent footage from last year on my channel, there had been different iterations of this set in various different pieces. And what I decided was that for this more or less up to date, if not final version, that I wanted something that was going to be diegetic. That is, it's not just a display of all of the things that I have, and it's not just a set. It's practical in the sense that everything that you're seeing is there because I will actually use it in the place that I'm using it. So it's not just there to like display all of my medieval accoutrement. It is actually there for a reason. I knew that because I was building this in my office space, my computer is literally right there, that the easiest thing to do rather than trying to build a tavern or trying to build a war room or something like that is, because this is my study, I would make a medieval study. So I very quickly narrowed down pictures that I liked of medieval studies. So when I was in the, I guess, second step of creating my interest inspiration board, something that caught my eye were actually a couple pictures of a miniature of a fantasy style medieval set, and there was this desk in the front and an archway in the background with some stairs going off into the background. And I thought, wow, that's brilliant, because it expands the space and makes it seem much bigger than it really is. I want to replicate that for my own set. And so you can see I looked at the architecture of this room, and there is actually this cutout here in the wall. The wall goes further this way, and I wanted to build a doorway that would frame that out. Not to ruin the illusion, but I did make this out of foam. I did just do a video on how to make wood out of foam. It doesn't cover this doorway specifically. It was made to the dimensions that I needed it to fill, so it would have been very specific, but the principles in this video can be applied to a lot of different projects. So this is a big piece of pink insulation foam board, 2 inches thick, 8 feet tall, 4 feet wide, from Home Depot, that I got for like $54, I wanna say. And that's why I say that you can do this very cheaply. Because quite honestly, there's not a whole lot to building something like this. Having the wood beams, having the doorway, having the wood beams here and in the other corner of the room, that's most of what makes this feel medieval. Everything else is just set decoration. This stuff you can accrue over time. You don't have to buy everything all at once. You can use what you have to decorate the set, but the actual set itself is just a couple of fake wood beams. Lighting is very important when you're setting the mood and the atmosphere of the set that you are building for yourself to feel immersed properly. You think this would look the same if it were just lit with white fluorescent lights? No, it would look and feel terrible. So having the right warm lighting is very important to setting the right atmosphere. And because I'm not just working with one wall anymore, I'm now working with 3. I have the back wall, and then I have the 2 side walls coming this way. Even if you don't do the full room of whatever area you're trying to make look medieval, having it 3-dimensionally eat into the room and eat into the space will make it feel less presentational, like it would if it were just the one wall, but more practical, more lived in, because you can actually stand inside of it rather than just in front of it. Literally surround yourself with your medieval set is the advice there. After I was able to visualize more or less what I wanted via the Pinterest board, I knew what elements I wanted to take and try to put into the space. The next step was to go into my chosen engine, which is Unreal Engine 5. You could use CAD, you could simply draw something. If you're good with Photoshop and you want to work with it that way, or Blender, or whatever you want. The key there was for me to create a visual representation, not only of this room, but then add in all the decorations that I wanted. So what I have been using on the green screen up until now is as close as I could manage. I sort of fudged the actual measurements and all of that, so things are a bit closer together in my actual set than they are in the Unreal Engine render. But the point of that is to actually get a copy of what it is that I'm going to make. That way I have a guide, I know what is going to go where, when. So we have my shield over here on the left. This is the domed Viking shield from Epic Armory. Ever since I got the shield, I knew I wanted to display it, and now it truly has pride and place over here. Because the shield is domed, it's actually a little bit harder to mount to the wall than I thought it was going to be. A flat shield would attach very, very easily. I had like a command strip broom holder, essentially. And I thought that that was going to fit, but because the actual handle of the shield is further away from the wall than the rim, there's a lot of empty space here. So the way around that, if you have a shield like this, whether it's LARP or whatever, and you want to display it, is to tie a small piece of rope around the handle and then hang the rope like you would hang a picture frame, rather than trying to hang it by its handle directly. Then of course we have my Knight's Bastard Sword from Dark Sword Armory. This has been with me for a very long time. You've seen it on the channel before, and it is once again hung, this time not in front of a door frame. The number of questions I got about that set where someone was like, how do you open the closet door? Crazy. But now I don't have to worry about that anymore. It's perfectly placed right here. Over on the other side, we of course have the obligatory Tudor-style wooden beams here, exposed wooden support beams, and then my candle holder, very much like the render, right here at head height. But the idea with this, of course, is to fill your space with things that you will actually use, and to put the things that you will use in the space where you will use it. I will share a quick story. Before, in the set that I had back when I was living in Pennsylvania, all of my medieval things were in that one room, and they were all displayed on that very large shelf. I'm displaying my things, they're all downstairs, they're set where they're supposed to be, and I didn't really want to touch them. Whereas here it is now a lot less presentational and much more, this is just what my study looks like, this is how I use things, and of course things can change further on. And that is really what I encourage you to do. If you have a lot of nice medieval mugs and you like to use them, keep them in your kitchen so that you can actually drink from them and enjoy using them like you're supposed to, rather than just having them displayed somewhere else. Very similar to the render, I have a wall-mounted shelf up here. It's very quick to install. Of course, I have my obligatory mythology candles, the Ranger scent from their Lord of the Rings collection. I love mythology. I've got 3 mythology candles in here in various places in the room. One of them's here, one of them is in the rest of the set, which we will get to in a second, and one is over there on my desk. Love mythology candles. They've been a great friend of the channel. I really like the product. I think they're a fantastic company. Christmas is coming around, so if you're interested in getting a very nice candle as a gift for somebody, there is a link down in the description. Now, a lot of these things are very easy to come by, and they could probably be had very cheaply so long as you're willing to do a little bit of hunting for them, and given that we're adventurers, going on a treasure hunt should be no problem at all. So this candle holder I've been holding on to for a long time because I found it at a thrift store, or my wife found it at a thrift store and then it came into my possession. Same thing with this wall-mounted shelf. I believe my wife found it for $5 at a thrift store. She knew that I would like it. She brought it home, and here it is on my wall. These things are super easy to find. And even if you don't find like the one that's like the perfect wood tone or whatever, you can do a little bit of crafting and make it fit your chosen aesthetic. The tea warmer, thrift store find right here. And it's again, it's not medieval, but the channel is called Living Anachronism. It fulfills a purpose, which is to keep tea warm. I drink a lot of tea, so I will be using this for real in my study in order to have tea while I am working in here. I, in fact, may not keep it right here because it's not in the optimal spot for me to pour myself tea, so this may go somewhere else. And prime example here of a piece that could fit into a medieval aesthetic, you can find them pretty much anywhere or something similar to it, and it just takes a little bit of elbow grease in order to get it looking the way that you want, is this stand-up shelf desk thing. I don't know what this is, but I've had it in my family for a very long time. It has always been white. It is not going to be white very shortly once I actually craft it, but this is something, it's just a random piece of furniture, there's nothing medieval about it, but I'm gonna make it look medieval, and it's going to fulfill a purpose and fit nicely within my little medieval world here. So stuff like this, just pay attention to at thrift stores. If you're looking around, if you're trying to save a buck and make something on the cheap, pay attention to stuff that doesn't look medieval on the surface, but could if you put a little effort into it. And now we come to the actual study corner of the study. You can see I have my bookshelf back here, and finally a real desk. This shelf, you may have a shelf. I went on a long hunt looking through very many thrift stores to find something that was in my price range, but that still had that sort of dark wood, medieval, or even Victorian look that I was going for. And I struck out, stuff was either like in the $200 to $300 range just for the bookshelf. That wasn't worth it to me. Or they were the right price, but weren't the right thing. So I ended up going for this shelf from Wayfair. If I can find which model it is, I'll put it right here. And it's working very well for me so far. It's big enough. It's got cabinets down here on the bottom for me to keep a lot of my other adventuring gear. Here on the side of my bookshelf, for now, I have a very nice quiver that my best friend bought me with my arrows in it, just to help add to the actual set itself. And then I have all of my books. Got the Lord of the Rings up here. I've got The Fall of Numenor up here, and then a lot of leather journals of mine and various other fantasy-themed books down there in the corner. Some maps, the war horn that I made up here. The whole thing is just filled with practical things that you would expect to find in a fantasy or medieval study. Now, this desk, on the other hand, was a thrift store find, and the credit for this find goes entirely to my wife, Gabriel. Lady Gabe here on the channel. She went to a thrift store, just spotted it, sent me a picture, said it's 20 bucks if it's still here on Monday when they're opening. Next week, just come and get it. And I did, and it was still there. And the perfect find. It's exactly the right size, the right dimensions, the right depth from the wall, the right length in order to get it in the camera shot. It's decorated nicely, even has a nice little rolling drawer here. Very, very happy with this. Just check every thrift store around you if you're doing something like this. And over here, I have another wall-mounted shelf. I have this wonderful photo of the Fellowship crossing over the mountains that came with an order of mythology candles in their Fellowship set. So I framed it because I like the artwork so much. You may recognize it from my previous set, but the glare on it made it kind of difficult to see. But now it has pride of place right here. And the shelf is, of course, strategically placed so that A, it's in the camera shot, at least to some degree, and B, I can actually reach up to it and put things up there or grab things down from it and then use them on my literal physical desk. And I also have these two wooden candle holders here on the desk with beeswax candles. This one has a glass shell over the top of it. The other one didn't because it broke when I was moving, so I have to get a new one. But these things were also pretty cheap. I got them from a local shop. Always check local artisan shops if you have them in your area because they have a ton of really cool stuff made by really cool people that you are going to like to display and use and have fun with if you are building something like this. This is just a director's chair, but it does mirror what a lot of medieval folding stools and chairs looked like. They might have leather instead of canvas. Mine has canvas. I have a nice faux fur here on the background. And I've always wanted to be able to do videos just like this, where the camera can be at the correct angle, where you can look at me and I can be sitting here talking to you and I can have a desk to place things on. And it's taken me almost 4 years to get to the point where I've actually had the ability to do something like this. If you'll permit the unsolicited advice, please do something like this, even if it's just a corner, right? Like I did my full 2 walls and plus this corner, so I did a lot. Even if it's just a little corner, please do this. I've said this in one of my earliest videos too. It's very outdated at this point. This is the updated version, but I said this from the very beginning. Having something like this, I think for people like you and me, adventurers at heart, having something like this in your house is imperative. And don't make the mistake that I did essentially over the last 4 years of thinking, oh, well, what I have is good enough, or it's gonna be so much work to have to do it. It's such a big project. It's such a big undertaking. Just do it piece by piece. Do it and just please do it now. You will thank me. It is an awesome thing to have something like this. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It can cost even less depending on your set of skills that you bring to the table when you're doing a project like this. But just do something. The fulfillment that you feel, the amount of immersion that this brings into your life, it is absolutely worth it, and it is not worth waiting a second longer than you have to. Just do it. And if you've already built something like this and you're happy with it, please share your experience down in the comments below so you can help motivate and inspire other people to do the same thing. Because having something like this, it's so easy. I just didn't do it before. It's so easy, and it's such a life changer. Building this along with the costumes and all the props, but having the set was something that I needed in my life. And I think it's something that you need in your life too. And that is the heart and soul, that is the goal of the channel, is to inspire you, is to embolden you to live anachronistically. Life should be an adventure that includes the life that you live in your normal house too. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it has been inspiring. I hope it has been motivational, and I hope it has been practical for you. I will see you very soon in my brand new study. And until then, I'd like to wish you good luck on your adventures.